Hello, everyone, and welcome to Millennial Rewind, where we take a not so sentimental look at the movies and TV shows that were around when millennials were growing up. I'm your host, Nick, coming to you from the buying expensive boots with daddy's credit card capital of the world, Los Angeles, California. And joining me here in the City of Angels is my co host, Jules. Jules, how are you doing today?
Well, I've been laughed out of job interviews since I was 18, so...
Did that happen again recently? Is that why you're bringing that up? And coming to you from the suicidal albino man washing windshields outside of Port Authority of Southern California, the Inland Empire, is my other co-host, John. John, what's happening?
Oh, I'm subtly sabotaging your personal happiness to make everything about me.
Ho, 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 ho. Who could you possibly be talking about?
Take your pick. There's at least 3 options.
Oh, but before we get started, if you like what you hear today, please do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Also, be sure to share the show with anyone you think might like to listen as well. So, we watched the first season of the wildly popular 90s sitcom Friends. And, John, how would you tell somebody you watched the first season of Friends without using the title? No one told us that joke was going to be that way. And Jules, if the producers had asked you to come up with a different title for this show, what would it be?
The self-esteem killers.
Wait, as in their lives are killing your self-esteem, or they're killing their own self-esteem?
They are
Where?
murderers of self-esteem, as the show will prove. They just stab each other with self-esteem blows.
That was option 2 for how you doing right there?
So much sarcasm. Like, for the first season, these characters all speak with the same voice, essentially.
Basically not Rachel.
Right. Like, anyone who's not Rachel is making snarky comments.
Over the run of the show, the characters got more defined, and Chandler's the snarky one, Ross is the dorky one, Phoebe's the weird one, but yeah, no, they're all Chandler at this
They're
point.
all Chandler for the first season. It is, yeah. I mean, Matthew Perry is just really good at being snarky and sarcastic, so he definitely outshines the others in that department, I think. But yeah, they are all, like, even Joey's giving massive snarky comments in this one, and eventually they transform him into like the really, really dumb one.
Yeah, honestly, though, as much as you guys have been criticizing the first season, I still think it's far superior to the later seasons. They just became caricatures. It was, like, really unfunny.
I'm interested in keeping the show on in the background because just watching the first and last episode, I had a lot of questions. So I did that, and I only got about halfway through the first season. And a large chunk of what I remembered about the show was in these like first 12 episodes. I can't recall how much of this show I've actually seen. I know it was at least the first, 2 or 3 seasons probably, but beyond that, I really stopped paying attention to it.
Oh, we were huge fans of Friends back in England. The whole family, they just watched it religiously. And I kind of feel like we don't need to tell people about how huge Friends was, because at least in England, it was the show for like so long. It was the one that introduced me to casual dating sex, excessive coffee drinking, and it perpetuated the myth that your friends are always there for you, which I thought was interesting.
I'm
means
taking
they're
that
not good
personally.
friends.
Go ahead and take that really
Oh, just
personally.
the reality is that your friends have lives of their own.
Being there for you doesn't mean they're at your beck and call.
Okay, I clearly didn't like lay out my conditions of friendship early on. We're gonna have to have an offline conversation about this because wow, we are wildly out of sync. Uh, Yeah, this was huge in South Africa too. Like, this was, 90s TV shows, South Africa got them, and it was huge. Everyone watched it, everyone liked it. I remember enjoying it. Got into my head, years later, I couldn't tell you what the hell happened. Even the finale was massive. Like, I was in boarding school when this happened, and in my boarding house, the TV room was just packed. Like, everyone who could be there to watch the last episode crammed into the TV room to watch watch the finale of Friends.
When was that even?
2004. So this ran from 1994 to 2004. Yep, it's
Wow.
had a 10-year run.
Oh, I had long past given up on it by 2004.
Very much so. We were just discussing this before the podcast, how many turns of phrases and lines have become so iconic in our just everyday vernacular. Phrases like, here's the thing, or you're in the friend zone, or, Joey's how you doing, or we were on a break. All these lines that just everyone knows what you're talking about.
Smelly
Smelly cat.
cat.
Exactly,
Oh,
that song.
God. Yeah, oh god, I'm getting flashbacks. So this was filmed at Warner Brothers, and when I was a tour guide there, this was a major part of the tour because they have, and I'm sure they still do have somewhere, the central perk set. So you would take guests in and they would sit on one of the 3 couches they had made for the show, and you took pictures of them and had to tell them to not walk past the couch into the actual set. No, you got to get back, sir. Please, God, I'm going to get fired.
That must have just been a joy every day.
Nothing kills your soul faster than working in customer service.
The
It's
general
just-
public, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so true.
Humanity is the worst. It was a mistake, and we make this mistake every day. We let humanity continue.
I've known people who've worked in customer service, and my favorite line was 95% of them just want money. They just want free shit. They'll try to
Yep.
find any excuse to try to convince you that they deserve free shit. And the other 5% are actually people who need help.
Well, then you have like the 0.1% that are like me, where it's just like, here I am. No, this is the thing I want. There's the money. Bye. I don't want you to try and sell me anything. I'm not going to try and make a deal on this. Let's just be done with it.
Exactly.
So now the sound stage where they filmed Friends, it's now known as the Friends stage. They have a metal plaque up on that sound stage at Warner Brothers. They filmed like fucking, what was that show with Melissa McCarthy? The sitcom?
Wouldn't know.
Yeah, it was
No idea.
some Chuck Lorre show that was not worthy. Yeah, Friends was way better than that show.
2.5 Men?
No, not 2.5 Men. That was actually across the way. It was like right opposite the Friends stage is where 2.5 Men was. That was the second worst stage to bring people to. So yeah, everything except for the London episodes filmed in Los Angeles. Not a single thing that wasn't like the exterior shots was filmed in LA, including the fountain. I have been to this fountain. It is not on the Warner lot proper. It is on what's called the Ranch. So it's like a separate thing. They have like a bunch of fake houses and streets there, and part of that is this fountain. So yeah, that fountain is in Burbank.
Well, we'll get to my issues with the fountain when we get there.
Fair enough. So yeah, I mean, huge show. I've definitely watched it all the way through. I think it was either when I was unemployed or the pandemic, something. I just watched it, or like first to last season.
I've watched it a couple of times all the way through.
Yeah.
It's some of it was out of curiosity. Some of it is when you're exceedingly stressed. It is a very light way to just take a break, at least in my opinion.
It is. And I will say that the iconic theme song, I'll Be There For You by the Rembrandts.
Which wasn't really a song.
Really?
Well, not at first, no.
What do you mean by that?
The Rembrandts made this little ditty for the opening titles. And then the song got popular and everyone wanted it. They wanted to hear it on the radio. They wanted to buy singles. And they were like, oh shit, we have to make a full song now.
That's amazing.
There may have been a few seconds cut out here and there, but basically what you hear at the opening, at least these first few episodes, I think they included more of the extended version later as the series went on. But yeah, this was it.
Very iconic intro.
Wow.
And from what I remember, the Rembrandts were a very different type of band as well. This was just, sure, we'll write a little catchy poppy song, for a TV thing and make some money, just have a gig, make some money. And then people were just like so disappointed / freaked out when they went to their actual shows because they liked Friends so much.
It's still a great song. It's as cheesy and overplayed as it is. It's a great song.
It is one of the most iconic intro songs, along the lines of Cheers, where everybody knows your name kind of feel to it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how do you tell people you watched it? You do the claps. I mean, it's that iconic, ubiquitous, whatever you want to call it.
But actually, it's crazy. But Cheers and Friends have something very much in common in that they were originally directed by James Burrows, prolific sitcom director James Burrows. God, I'm just going to pull up his filmography here. He had Night Court, Wings, Frasier, Friends, News Radio, Third Rock from the Sun, Dharma and Greg, Caroline in the City, Will and Grace, 2.5 Men, Big Bang
Damn.
Theory. This guy is sitcoms. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't win them all. Two and a Half Men was probably one of the worst sitcoms to have ever existed.
God.
Oh, you have no idea how deep that rabbit hole goes. Terrible sitcoms? Really? I mean, maybe didn't deserve the longevity it had, but still, no, man.
There's literally a sitcom that was made with Hitler as the main character called Honey, I'm Heil.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? I would watch the hell out of that.
Also, see the page of almost every British sitcom adapted to American television.
I cannot stand The Office. I cannot fucking stand that show. I've never laughed. I've never laughed watching the
Men
episodes of
behaving badly, coupling, just all sorts.
Oh, come
There's
on.
a-
You didn't laugh when they did the fire drill in the American Office.
I haven't watched,
Cat gets
that.
launched into the ceiling. At its moments, I think.
I'll say this, it became its own thing and I enjoyed it, but I came into it late and I was later shown the very first episode and I'm like, if I had seen this when it came out, I'd never watch this show again because apart from changing the names, it is exactly the same as the first episode of the original series with Ricky Gervais.
Well, getting back to Friends.
And no, I'm good. Let's keep
No, you're
talking about
good.
The Office.
Let's keep talking about The Office on the Friends. I think The Office is technically in our purview. We could do The Office.
Or I could just talk about coupling. It's like Friends, but funnier.
Ooh.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Friends on the Office podcast and coupling when we talk about Firefly. That's the way this will work, right?
Exactly.
Not sure how we're jumping with coupling and Firefly, but okay, cool. I'm down.
Welcome to Millennial Rewind, where we talk about the wrong shows on the episodes.
Where we tell you what we're talking about and then don't.
So guess how much the cast of Friends makes annually to this day in fucking
Currently.
residuals? Currently.
I know it's at least hundreds of thousands each.
Oh, my sweet summer
At
child.
least. I started with at least.
It was $1 million per episode at one point, wasn't it? Something crazy.
By
like
the
that?
end, they were getting $1 million an episode.
Yeah, that was working on it. And they like always entered negotiations together because there were certain cast members that were getting more popular in movies and stuff than others. But the concept of Friends, they stuck together. They didn't let anyone pull one of them out to try and give them a sweeter deal or something. It was like, no, we're all going to take the same stake in this.
They each make anywhere between $20 to $30 million a year for a show they did like 20 years ago, that ended like 20 years ago.
Now that residuals are actually substantial for actors. MASH wasn't the same. Those actors from MASH do not get residual checks.
That was before, they like actors negotiated for residuals, which sucks because MASH is indisputably one of the greatest sitcoms of all time.
You just became my mom's favorite person.
If the MASH actors had earned even partially what the Friends actors earned, they would probably be hitting similar figures. It's one of the
Easily.
most successful global shows.
All right, well, we've blabbed enough. We're going to go take a little break. And when we come back, we're going to break down the pilot episode of Friends. Maintenance guy, I love being the maintenance guy.
Hello, excuse me, sir. Hello.
Hey there, little lady. Whoa, is that a wedding dress?
Yeah. Do you know which apartment is Monica Geller's? I'm her friend, Rachel.
Monica. Sure, I know which apartment she's in.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, but she's not there right now.
Oh, she's not. Oh.
Yeah, you see, it's a Thursday, so she went to jazzercise class this morning at 7 a.m. at this place on 42nd Street.
Oh, okay, so you really know her then?
Yeah, she does it every week. So after that, she usually goes to the smoothie place 2 blocks over, and then when she's done there, she gets on the subway at Grand Central and comes back here for a quick shower. She uses an exfoliating scrub that's really great for her skin, gets it nice and smooth.
And you know all of this? How?
Yeah, so if she's done with the showering, she usually does laundry at the place around the corner. And after folding her clothes and all that stuff, she heads over to this coffee shop called Central Perk to hang out with her friends. Their names are Chandler, Phoebe, Joey, and usually her brother Ross is there. He's a cool guy.
Okay, this is more than just a little bit terrifying that you have my friend's entire schedule memorized. So I'm gonna back away now and not go anywhere near any of those places you just mentioned.
Hey, you're your own person. You go where you want. Hey, but before you go, Want to see my giant hammer?
Well, you've had your dick out this entire time, so might as well. Jesus Christ.
And we're back. The pilot episode is called The One Where Monica Gets a Roommate. How she gets a roommate is fucking ridiculous, which we'll get into.
There's an alternative title, which is the one where Rachel leeches off Monica.
I think that would have been a much more accurate title. Thank you. Good job. This is why we have Jules do those.
But aren't you describing the show at this point?
It's true. The entire show is pretty much that until Rachel finally gets a substantial career, which takes a very long time.
See, I didn't even know that happened. I just thought she was a waitress for the entire series.
No, at some point she gets hired by Ralph Lauren, so
Yeah, that's why Ross and Rachel actually break up at one point.
because she's making more money than him.
Ross is upset because he's not getting much of a relationship. Rachel is really passionate about her new career and suggests they go on a break. Ross thinks it's a breakup, so he sleeps with the first girl he sees in a club.
I mean, they were on a break. I am absolutely on Ross's side on this one. They're on a break. The commitment was on pause. He gets to go bang whoever he wants. If she didn't want him banging other people, shouldn't have put a fucking pause on the relationship. That's on her.
I'm honestly just astonished that Ross was in a club.
Yeah, that's like the only time they go to a club in the entire show.
So yeah, I mean, we've spoken about the fountain before, but we start with the infamous fountain scene. Well, like that's the intro.
Yeah, I love this song. I love that they're dancing together, but why the fountain and the umbrellas?
No fucking clue. No fucking clue.
Spectacle, fun.
Whimsy. Hey, we're a bunch of quirky pals. We're shoving buddies. Little Family Guy reference for you.
Oh, okay. I didn't pick up on the reference. I was like, that seems to have a much different connotation, I think. Maybe that's just my mind.
There are many ways to be a shoving buddy. But yeah, they're frolicking in the fountain, splashing each other. This is just them frolicking this whole time. The couch is there, the
Frolicking,
iconic couch.
dancing. Yeah.
Splashing. Later episodes, when they finally have some episodes in the can, they'll do the sitcom thing where they'll put scenes from the show in the intro.
During this intro, Joey headbangs so much he turns into a lens flare. Did you spot that?
Is that what happened? I believe you. I just didn't notice it.
It's a special moment. He just starts headbanging and then just massive lens
Everything
flare.
with Joey is a special moment, though. Come on.
Ooh.
I mean that in the best of ways. He's a delight.
He is a delight. He's like the only character who's actually like kind of not an asshole. Like him and Phoebe are like the only non-assholes.
Dude, in the pilot, he hits on a woman.
Okay, he becomes
who's
not an
literally
asshole.
just run out of a wedding.
I was about to say, yeah, this is after they had time to flesh the characters out, right? That's
After
what
they
you're
flesh the
talking about.
characters out, Joey is like one of like him and Phoebe are like the not assholes.
Yeah, I will stand by Chandler. I mean, yeah, he's sarcastic and snarky and everything, but I consider him probably to be the best of a friend that you could hope for
Yeah.
out of the group.
Well, speaking of the friends, we're going to open up the pilot at Central Park, the infamous coffee shop on the show. It's all the friends minus Rachel. They're talking about Monica's boyfriend that she's got, or like some guy she's dating.
Apparently, it just finished up with him. It's unclear.
Monica has trouble dating, basically.
Yes.
They're saying, you're dating the guy, there's got to be something wrong with him.
Yeah.
And my note was, these friends support each other in the form of scathing put-downs.
My entire
Is
fucking
it
high school
any
experience.
surprise we grew up with this show?
No, not at all.
This is the cynic generation. Because that's apparently how we project affection and love, is by making the other person feel absolutely awful about their character faults.
Well, yeah, of course. If I don't like you, I just won't acknowledge your presence. I am communicating. You should be grateful.
You see, dear listeners, this is how John is there for me.
Fucking beanpole.
Oh, we're such close friends.
That's why he calls me double stuff.
Yeah, audience, this is foreplay. Actually, this is gonna get really erotic once we stop recording. It's gonna get weird. I know this is a very shallow observation, but Lisa Kudrow definitely had a mouth mole removed. Like she has a mole in this episode, and then in the last episode we watch, it is no longer there. She absolutely got a mole removed off her chin.
Would this be because the sheriff of Rottingham pointed it out to her?
I have a mole.
Honestly, I didn't notice, so okay.
Phoebe talks about how she once dated a guy who ate chalk, and I thought that was a very good representation of the kind of people who live in New York City. I know a lot of New Yorkers like to criticize, rural America for all the weirdos, but let me tell you, New York's just as filled with weird people.
Yeah, they also think we're weird. Yeah, New York, you look down on us, and I gotta be honest, we don't give a shit. We're LA. We're so fucking awesome. Like we couldn't begin to give a shit about what you think of us.
Inland Empire makes cricket noises during this conversation.
Inland Empire doesn't have a fucking leg to stand on. Anyways,
Oh no, we don't.
because they made like 3 sets for this pilot episode, we just time jump to the same spot, and Chandler's now talking about a weird dream he had where his like dick was a phone, and then he got a call from his mother, which is weird because she never calls him.
Yeah, my note is Chandler overshares. I mean, genuinely, who shares their penis phone dreams with their friends in a public space?
Chandler.
And as we later learn, Chandler's mom is a successful author of erotic novels.
It is the beginning of the huge question that encompasses this entire show, one of which they even make fun of in the later series. But it's, why the hell aren't these people at their jobs?
That's a great question because it's like, I don't know.
It's the middle of the day and they're all drinking coffee.
It could be Saturday. You don't know.
It's just continuously in this coffee shop to the point that later in the show, they start wondering why all their bosses don't like them. And Joey says, maybe it's because you're all here 3 o'clock on a Wednesday. And they all decide to get up and go to their job.
Okay, I was gonna say that's kind of a thing with most shows, and it's nice they acknowledge it, but I mean you do get bits of them here and there at work. So. Classic sitcom trope is where I was gonna go with it.
Then we get another flash forward in the same location because that's how all good sitcoms are structured. And a very wet Ross comes in.
Please define very in that sense.
Okay, a semi-wet Ross.
A David Schwimmer with damp hair enters the door.
That's what I meant to say.
I do have to say this is one of my favorite intros of any character because I actually have these lines memorized. He says, "I feel like someone reached down my throat, pulled out my small intestine, pulled it out of my mouth, and tied it around my neck." And then Chandler just goes, "Cookie."
Oh,
Chandler. Because his ex-wife came by and took all her stuff, so made him feel bad. My note here is Ross has the exact same reaction to Phoebe trying to cleanse his aura as I would. Just like, no, leave my fucking aura alone.
And then Chandler has exactly the same reaction that I would have to Ross's predicament, which is that his wife's a lesbian and that's why he's getting divorced. And Chandler's reaction is, sometimes I wish I was a lesbian. And then, did I say that out loud?
And you did, Chandler. You did.
Seriously, Chandler really overshares in this pilot episode.
And of course, Joey's answer to Ross being sad is a strip joint. Yeah, man, let's go to a strip club. And Jules, why have you never offered to take me to a strip club when I've had a breakup, huh?
Because it's the most overrated experience in the entire world. I've been to a few, and they felt like
not a fan
a
myself.
ludicrous group experience. You're essentially deciding that you want company during your pornographic experience. That's what you're doing every time you walk into a strip club.
I feel kink shamed, and you are the worst friend ever. But Ross just, he doesn't want to be single. He just wants to be married again. And, as he says that, Rachel, played by Jennifer Aniston, bursts into the coffee shop wearing a wedding dress. And Chandler's reaction to this is, and I just want $1 million.
Well, yeah, clearly there's a genie granting wishes right there somewhere.
Genie granting wishes coffee shop. There's an idea for you. So Rachel went to Monica's building to look for her, and some dude there who works on the building
with a big hammer.
With a big hammer, which I'm pretty sure is a euphemism.
Yeah, I don't get this line. If it's a euphemism, that means Monica's a slut, which we know is not true. And if there's construction going on, how the hell do they know Monica's schedule?
It's all fucked up because, it's like, oh yeah, you can go find her at the coffee shop. Like,
Right.
Not creepy at all. Definitely something that would only happen in a pre-cell phone world.
Well, we know that Monica's dated someone with a hump and a hairpiece, so the guy with the big hammer is not such a huge leap, right?
I guess that depends on what we mean by big hammer.
Big dick.
Yes, that would be unlikely given what we know of her track record so far.
So Monica introduces her to the group. They went to high school together. Ask her why she's there wet in a wedding dress, and was basically recount because she was clearly just left her wedding, and she realized just before the ceremony that she was much more turned on by the gravy boat among the wedding presents than she was by her fiance.
Yeah, weird way to say that she just wasn't into him. And once again, by rain soaked in a wedding dress, we mean her hair is damp.
Yes, her hair is damp.
But she also mentions how Barry reminded her of Mr. Potato Head, so I'm just picturing Don Rickles right now.
And later you see Barry because she has to return the engagement ring, and I'm not seeing it. He's not a dumpy guy. He's not a pear-shaped man.
He's not hiding body parts in his ass.
I'll say he's not kissing his own ass. Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, pretty sure you would have figured that you weren't turned on by somebody well before now, right? Like,
Yeah, my note here is why didn't she talk to her fiance, parents, other friends, or therapist before she ran from her wedding, traveled to New York City to stay with a high school friend she hasn't kept in touch with?
I got the sense that she was
Well,
getting
from
married
what I
in the
understand, the
city.
sense is that okay, yes, that too. This wasn't exactly her choice. It was just this is the way things are done. This is what is expected of you. And she had a crisis of conscience and just needed to break free and, go find herself.
So she tells Monica, "Hey, you're the only person I knew in the city. Like, I know we drifted apart, so I just came looking for you." And Monica's like, "Yeah, cool, 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 cool. I wasn't invited to the wedding. What the fuck's up with that?"
Which is such a great response. It's like, okay, cool. I'm your best, I'm the great friend you're gonna reach out to the wedding you ran away from that I wasn't told about.
That's my point.
Besties.
And Rachel's like, "Yo, I was really hoping you wouldn't bring that up." And that is exactly what the writers said when they got network notes on an earlier draft of this script. Like, that is what happened.
Is this a good time to point out how painful it is to go back and watch things with a live studio audience?
Yeah. Do you know what's even more painful, though? Watching shows that were filmed in 4:3 and 16:9. Like, fuck off. I know I've made this point before, but I will die on this hill every single time. Give me the option to watch it in glorious 4:3. Like, fuck off. That is how it was shot, is how it was intended to be seen. I get that fucking Zoomers or millennials can't fucking handle it anymore, but come on.
I mean, it's not as bad as what happened to The Simpsons. I mean, they full on cut off parts of the screen, so a lot of visual gags are ruined because you can't see the full screen. It's just ludicrous.
Stupid. Just let the audience choose. You can have both files on your cloud server and you can choose. Like, it's stupid. Anyways.
There's a Nightmare on Elm Street film where when they moved it to video release and they reformatted it, instead of cutting the image, they used more of what the camera shot. And so you'd see like Freddy like at the bottom of the frame waiting to like spring up to scare someone, or like crew members moving around or a mic or something. It's glorious.
That's amazing.
It's glorious.
That is amazing. So now we're at the infamous apartment. Exterior of the apartment is actually in New York. I've walked past it.
And this is proof that they are not at their jobs because they're watching daytime TV.
They're not only watching daytime TV, they're watching telenovelas. My note here is this moment of watching telenovelas is brought to you by Mellow Yellow.
I was going to say this moment where a woman gets pushed down the stairs and applauded is sponsored by Mellow Yellow.
This is so sick. Like they're cheering for this, like, for a cat fight to ensue where one lady throws another lady down the stairs. Like, were we all that bloodthirsty in the 90s?
Were?
I feel like it was more like socially acceptable to be this bloodthirsty.
If I'm watching something as crazy as a soap opera or a telenovela or something like that, give me the crazy. I don't care.
So in the middle of this happening, Rachel's making some phone calls. She first calls her dad. Well, she first calls her fiance, and then her dad. She's just calling her dad.
And then
Yeah, she's talking to her dad, so, like, explaining why she ran, and then gives a very ham-fisted metaphor about, like, how everyone is trying to tell her she's a shoe, but maybe she's a purse or a hat. Maybe I'm not what you expect me to be.
My mind just went to Tilda Swinton's monologue in Snowpiercer, so I just checked out of this episode for a little while.
Fair enough.
And expected someone to get his arm frozen off.
Would have been a great twist.
The whole joke is that, the dad doesn't get that it's a metaphor. But then Ross says you can see where he had trouble. And no, that's so clearly a metaphor. I don't understand Ross's comeback here.
Well, the real joke is women, am I right?
I mean, I think that's a lot of the humor in the show is women, am I right?
That's probably only second place to the concept of lesbians existing. Oh my God. Throughout this season, at least the bits that I had on, and Ross is just like, well, my wife left me. Turns out she's lesbian. Uproarious laughter.
Oh, she lived in a homophobic society and couldn't discover her true self until well after she got married. Ah, hilarious. I mean, also, like, it affected him because he married someone that he loved, who he thought had reciprocal feelings and attraction, and clearly didn't. Hilarious. Then, in the middle of this conversation with her dad, proceeds to invite herself to fucking stay in Monica's apartment, as we discussed
Right?
earlier.
This is when the leech literally attaches itself.
Yep.
You can see it if you freeze frame. The bloodsucker is attached.
Yes, you can see, like, Rachel's mouth becomes like a circle, like a leech, and just literally bites into Monica's neck. I did not remember this part of Friends.
I witnessed that while moving forward at 3 arrow speed. What do you mean freeze frame?
This is the point at which Monica said, no, we're not actually that close. You need to go back home and fix things with your dad. And the TV show ended. And it was a very surprising ending. It just half a pilot episode. That's all they managed.
Well, no, it went on, but the S in Friends turned into a 5.
So here's the thing, like, I think one of the bigger criticisms of the show is that there's no way that a bunch of 20-somethings could afford an apartment this big, and
that horse has been beaten
it's been beaten to death,
so
but I
many
feel like
fucking
it got explained at some point that it's not actually Monica's apartment, like, it's her rich aunt's apartment, and that's how she got it.
I feel like that's just a thing they came up with to get people to shut up about it.
Probably.
It's like, it's a set for a TV show with 6 main characters. They need space. Come on.
Or the fact that they get the exact same seats in the coffee shop day after day after day.
It's because Ross and Joey and Chandler peed on it, because they're real men, and they claimed it for the group.
There was a fire in the coffee shop?
Yeah, they set a fire in the coffee shop, and then they peed on it, and then...
This is going to make a lot more sense when we talk about the finale.
Yes, when we talk about the finale, it's going to make a lot more sense. This is a call forward, audience member. We're not just talking about peeing for the sake of talking about peeing.
I am only mostly making shit up as I go today.
We're not just random arsonists and urinators in public. There's actually some...
We are very deliberate arsonists and public urinators, okay? There's a
I was going to just make the point that we, not all of us are.
You got to guess which two.
I mean, we've talked about the Inland Empire enough for one day.
That's an average Wednesday.
So Rachel finishes the call with her dad. She's like, well, maybe I don't need your money. And then she's like, no, wait, nope. I definitely need your money. Don't ignore me. Again, because we only built 3 sets for this fucking pilot, we flash forward in the same place again. Rachel's having a panic attack while breathing into a paper bag. And Phoebe decides that the way she's going to calm Rachel down is by poorly singing "These Are a Few of My Favorite Things from the Sound of Music."
Comedy.
Yeah, this was not a great pilot. A few moments of amusement, but by and large, meh. And so Rachel's like, okay, yep, nope, cool. You helped. Dear God, please stop. And so, Phoebe's very chuffed with herself. I think she goes up to Chandler and is like, I helped.
I'm sorry, did we have shake and bake for dinner?
And then Joey decides to hit on this woman literally moments after she decided not to go through with her wedding.
Not only decides to hit on her while holding a giant ham and cheese sandwich.
Which multiplies the crime.
Absolutely.
Not sure what that has to do with anything.
It's a great visual, and I think the next time I go clubbing, I'm going to take a giant ham and cheese sandwich, and that is how I'm going to start flirting.
At which point you'll tell the bouncer when he asks you what you're doing with a ham and cheese sandwich, what, like there's a rule or something?
Nothing in the rule book says I can't bring a ham and cheese sandwich to a club.
And then he points to the no outside food or drink sign.
And then I'll be like, come on, this is my club sandwich. But don't.
Oh, kill me now.
And he'll be like, "No, you already admitted this is simply a ham and cheese. That is different. Get the fuck out of my line."
Now I want a club sandwich. Those are delicious.
We cannot get through a conversation, can
No.
we? We just
No, we
can't.
can't.
We're already like 40, almost 45 minutes into this record.
And we've barely touched this episode.
I know. We're not even close.
So yeah, so it turns out Monica's got a date, and she's dating this Paul the wine guy, as if that's supposed to fucking mean something to us.
Apparently, it means something to everyone.
Yep, they all know who this is. It's like the noodle incident in Calvin and Hobbes. Like everyone knows about it, but like nobody ever like knows who it exactly is.
Except we actually get to meet Paul the
That
wine
is true.
guy.
We do get to meet Paul the wine guy.
Isn't that the ideal man? Just man and wine.
Oh, I thought you were talking about noodle incidents.
I mean, hey Jules, if that's the kind of guy you're into.
Ayo.
Oh.
Took Nick a sec that time.
So basically, give Jules enough wine and he'll have a noodle incident with you. Got it. I don't know what this is, man. I didn't sleep a lot last night. But Monica offering to stay for Ross fake out.
It was something like he's just so sad about being abandoned and maybe she shouldn't go on her date, but he's just fucking with her. No, seriously, go have
Go
fun.
get some dick. I'm your brother.
I mentioned Chandler is actually the best to have as a friend. Ross is objectively the worst.
Yes, he is the Woody of this show.
Yeah, he's a bummer. He's morose. He's almost always whining about shit, and again, just making it all about him.
Although, yeah, depression is a powerful, powerful force in psychology.
And my life.
Hey, my life too.
Hey!
Nobody's mentally well on
And
this show.
My life too. It's true.
Yeah, no, I found that like my closest friends, I'm like, oh, we get the same kind of humor. Oh, we get oh, you have that side of it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sucks.
So anyways, Paul the wine guy comes in. Everybody's by the door. Humor. He's tall, so Ross is cool with him boning his sister. You need to be this tall to ride my sister.
Yeah, John Court arrives. This was amazing.
Who is this guy?
John Court.
Oh, I'm not aware of him. What is he known for?
Well, I mean, this actor is John Allen Nelson, but John Court is his off and on recurring season 1 through 5 Baywatch character.
Oh, amazing.
Got it.
Everything is Baywatch.
But yeah, apparently this guy, Paul, the wine guy, has absolutely no comment about why Rachel is there in a wedding dress. Apparently just every New York City apartment has someone with a wedding who's in a wedding
Legally,
dress.
you have to have at least one.
I would say it's that New Yorker stereotype where just nothing phases them.
Nope.
It could be. Could be.
Just kind of a, hey, not my problem, none of my business. I'm here to pick up my date. You do you.
This is New York in the early 90s. He probably like survived 4 muggings on the way to the apartment building. Like this is not the weirdest part
All
of
he
his day.
needs is a bottle of wine.
Yeah, that's why he didn't bring any wine, because he used it as a weapon.
Because a bottle of wine, that'll keep the bums away.
Worst superhero ever.
Wino man.
Paul the wine guy.
Ross asks Rachel what she's doing tonight, and she's like, I don't know, man. I just like ran away from my fucking wedding. I hadn't really thought about my evening plans.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going on my honeymoon if that's what you're trying to suggest.
Aruba, which holy fuck. And he's like, yeah, Aruba this time of year. You know, don't want to mess with that. Big lizards.
As if you know Ross. Fuck off,
Yeah,
Ross.
fuck.
He was trying to find something bad about Aruba, and he just comes up, talk about your big lizards.
Then he asks her if she'd like to hang out with him, Joey, and Chandler and help him put together his new furniture at his apartment. Hey, would you like to come do free labor for me? Person who just
And
came back
this
to
is where
my
I
life?
realized I'm actually Phoebe.
This is the point. But the thing is that, Nick, you are guilty of asking for free labor at least once in our relationship. But Phoebe pulls the best line in the world. They ask Phoebe if she wants to help, and she says, I wish I could, but I don't want to.
Yep, go Phoebe.
Oh, God, if only friendships were really like this.
But in a very nice, just, oh, that's how it is way. Not in a sarcastic or nasty sort of way of, oh, that sounds dumb. It's like, man, I'd really love to. I'm not up for it. I just don't want to.
So these are the friends who will be there for you, right, world?
So now there's like three things going on. Instead of like cutting back and forth between them, let's just play each of these three
Cool.
scenes out. So we're at Ross's apartment, where the guys are putting together what is presumably IKEA furniture, but they're not saying IKEA furniture. And because Ross is an idiot, this is hard for him. I'm sorry, IKEA furniture is not hard to put together. It's not hard to understand the instructions. They have all the pieces there for you. This is just dumb.
I think it might have been trickier in the
I
90s.
doubt it.
Nowadays, it's so clear. It's like, you only need that shitty little wrench to do it.
So he's been squatting the entire time. He's like, I can't feel my legs now. And it's like, well, gee, then maybe you should have done this differently. Like, I don't know. Like, you being in this uncomfortable stress position is your fault. That wasn't in the fucking instructions. I guarantee it.
Yeah, again, Ross is just whiny.
Also, Joey and Chandler just give up on building the bookshelf. They're like, that's done enough. Like, we've done enough of this.
Now, the actual joke is that he couldn't find the finishing pieces for whatever he was building, and Joey and Chandler had it, and instead of mentioning it, they just decided to hide it in the plant and just say it's all done. That was actually the joke.
So Ross goes to like the fridge and he pulls out a beer, which is like some spoof of Sam Adams, and it's like, this was Carol's favorite beer. She drank it straight from the can, and that should have let me know that it was she was a lesbian. And
What the fuck? What the fuck is
I
this?
don't know.
How is this a lesbian stereotype? And it gets a big laugh, of course, because studio audience. But seriously, how often, if you've got cans of beer around, are you taking the time to pour it in?
Yeah, hey ladies, because we know a lot of you listen. Is it
That's the
gay
best
to
joke yet.
drink beer straight from the can? Because if that's the case, I've had sex with a bunch of lesbians.
I would say clearly, based on this scene, that makes it gay for women to drink from the can because it's a manly thing to do. So if we use a glass, that makes us gay men.
Damn, I've been gay for a long time.
I don't care that you have that mug that can literally hold 4 beers at once. It's still gay, apparently.
Very, very gay.
We found it could literally hold 5 bottles of Newcastle Brown Ale.
And that's what makes it gay, because while you drink it, you're working on your figure and pumping them biceps up. Just get all the stereotypes. Let's just do it all.
Put them all in there. Oh my god. So anyways, he's like lamenting that, he thinks there's only one woman for everyone, and apparently there's also only one woman for Carol. That's why she left. And then Joey's like, no. You're thinking about this all wrong. And then I honestly can't tell if Joey can't tell the difference between women and ice cream, given this fucking metaphor. It's like women are like ice, they come in different flavors, and sometimes you put sprinkles on them. And
it's a metaphor that just carries on a little too long, which I think makes it funnier if he's just saying, hey, there's plenty of options out there and there's a lot of variety. But I do have a question, and maybe one of you can help me with this. When he's talking about stuff you can put on your ice cream, what are jimmies?
This is 90s slang, so I'm guessing that's dicks. I've listened to enough Tupac to know what he's talking about.
Yeah, he said like you could pour some jimmies on there or something. And honestly, that's all I could think. Or for some reason, Slim Jims, which would just be weird.
I'm trying to be hard on Joey about not being able to tell the difference between women and ice cream. And honestly, I've had the same issue. Like, I tend to smother both in whipped cream, and that's why I'm not allowed back in that Ben and Jerry's. And so after giving this metaphor, Ross says, I honestly don't know if I'm hungry or horny. And Chandler's like, stay away from my freezer.
Boo.
Yeah.
Bad joke. Bad Chandler.
I think Matthew Perry knew it was bad, and he was
getting
paid.
He was getting
They
paid.
were all getting paid.
And it's a pilot. They don't even know if this is getting picked up
Nope.
or not, man. You just you do the job.
And so obviously Ross hasn't had sex in a while, and he's like, even if I could, if I put myself out there, like, who would I even like go for? Like who would I even date? Or it's like, dude, you live in New York fucking city. It's like there's like 12 million people there. Statistically, half of them are women.
But there are also no news stories when giant dinosaurs are hiding amongst the 12 million people that live there.
Cut to Rachel looking out sadly the window when he's talking about who he could possibly ever date. She's spending this whole sequence like leaving multiple voice messages to her ex-fiance and then watching the wedding scene from Joni Loves Chachi.
Yeah, I'm good to gloss over the rest of that.
Cool. That's all I had to say on that. Because now we got to talk about Monica, who's on her date with Paul the wine guy. Turns out his ex cheated on him, kept going to the dentist like 5 times a week. And apparently he got over the whole thing by breaking her watch. So no red flags there. None at
Well,
all.
if that wasn't the red flag, what's actually the red flag is oversharing about your impotence.
I should stop myself first because this isn't the thing you reveal so early in dating. Which, of course, makes her ask, and then he shares to show that he's committed to seeing her more.
Yeah, he reveals he's like been impotent. He hasn't had sex in 2 years. It's like, so do you think you still want the 15? She's like, yeah. And they're at this restaurant, and this is the saddest looking Asian food I have ever seen on fucking TV. This like dime store noodles and fucking like sushi question mark. This was filmed in LA. I can go 2 blocks and
There is no
there's no excuse.
excuse. There is no
I can
excuse.
drop you at any point in Los Angeles, and within 2 blocks, you can find dank Asian food. Like, fuck off. There's no excuse for this.
I can do that here in the Inland Empire, man. I am surrounded by awesome Asian food.
Southern California, anywhere you go in Southern California, there is amazing Asian food. There's no fucking excuse to have shitty Asian food on your set. So the next morning, Rachel tries her hand at making coffee for Chandler and Joey. It sucks, so they pour it out into a plant.
And kill it.
They kill it with coffee.
Killing the plant now with coffee is better than putting it through the hell of living with Rachel, apparently. I'm going to stand by this decision.
Yeah, that plant went peacefully.
I genuinely, no matter how cushy someone's life is, I genuinely don't believe anyone's not made coffee in their life by the time they hit their 20s.
You would be fucking surprised.
No, I could believe it.
I could believe it. Like Rachel, like her life of privilege, I absolutely could believe it.
Rachel went on to open her own coffee shop, and then that's where they bought it for Jean Reno.
Ha 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 ha. I do want to see the 1998 Godzilla Friends crossover. That
The crossover we all deserve.
We've already established that there are no women to date and no news stories. It already is coming together so well.
It's the way you get the Simpsons characters with the Friends characters and throw Godzilla in there. That's the ultimate mashup.
I would watch that sitcom. I would watch the fuck out of that sitcom.
Nathan Lane is going to have to join Matthew Broderick in a musical number while Spinal Tap does the music. I mean, this is just
mandatory.
Yes.
See, we're already making like way more interesting shit than this fucking show because we keep getting sidetracked. Paul, the wine guy, emerges from Monica's room, so she got a little something, something, and everyone calls him like. There's this like running gag with Chandler because they all refer to him as Paul, and he's like, "Oh, Paul, is it?"
It was funny the first time when they actually met him.
Yes,
and they were all saying his name repeatedly.
So Chandler announces he's going to go to work, and then he immediately talks about how it really doesn't matter if he does his job or not. He has like existential dread, like right in the kitchen.
That's one of my favorite lines actually from Chandler in this episode is that if I don't input those numbers, it really doesn't make much of a difference.
God, modern living to a fucking T. Just like if most of us, like if we didn't do our jobs, wouldn't fucking matter. Would not fucking matter.
But this is the basis for my Chandler is the best of all of them. He has a job that he hates, winds up getting paid very well for it eventually, and basically supports Joey.
Yep.
One of the few things I remember from very, very later on is with Joey's acting, he eventually gets a big break and gets a whole bunch of money. And hey, but I'm finally going to pay you back for like all these years of covering rent and meals and like tickets to events and everything. And Chandler tries to do no, it's fine. And Joey's serious. And so he's like, all right, and writes down a figure and shows it to him. And he's like, or I could be happy with you just being such a cool dude and forgiving my debt. Like Chandler's the best.
He's pretty rad now that I think about it. So Rachel like can't believe they all have jobs, and Monica's like, yeah, that's how we get money to buy things. Like, how the fuck do you think life works?
My only note is Rachel observes the truth, which is that none of them are going to their jobs.
Yeah, it's less she's astonished that people have jobs. She's just amazed that these people
Exactly.
because they never seem to go for them. Or sorry, damn it, they never seem to go to them, not for them.
So Chandler's got his accounting gig, Monica's a chef, and then they find out that Ross is an actor who works in local productions.
Joey is an actor.
Joey, that's what I meant to say. Joey.
We don't learn Ross's job in this episode.
We don't learn Ross's job in this episode. We don't know what he does.
And then Chandler just kind of makes me want to take back what I just said because he just immediately starts teasing Joey about the acting gigs he's had so far because he was in a production for children.
Yeah, he was in a production of Pinocchio. They all brutally make fun of him, led by Chandler. And I'm like, good. Actors aren't people. They need to be reminded of this.
I never said that actors are cattle. I said they should be treated like
Epic Hitchcock.
Fuck yeah, Hitch.
So the boys leave, and Monica is just so happy about last night. And Rachel's like, "Yeah, it's like you slept with a coat hanger in your mouth." And it's like,
Is
"It's
that a
not what you
blowjob joke?
That is absolutely a blowjob joke. Also, if your dick looks like a coat hanger, please see a doctor."
I'll say, but that metaphor is just very uncomfortable. I'm sorry.
Yes. And Monica's leaving for work, but Rachel, she says she's going to get one of those job things. So, yeah. So, Monica's at work as a chef, and I could have sworn that her coworker's chef hat was not on all the way. Like, it was like a half shed hat.
Shed hat.
It was a half shed hat.
It was a shitty hat. Just shit all over
She has
that
a real
hat.
chef head.
Right, because from a certain angle, it looked like it only covered like the front half of her head and had a little floppy thing on top, and like the back of her head was exposed. It could have just been like the way the shadows were working, but that's what it looked like to me.
She wasn't sure if she was going to be going to work or taking a nap.
Are you suffering from floppy chef hat? If so, take these blue pills.
If so, throw some jimmies on it.
Yeah, so her coworker
Oh, God.
immediately knows that Monica banged.
Yeah, casual workplace sex talk is very casual in the 90s.
Very casual. I could not imagine going up to a coworker and be like, "You fucked last night, didn't you?"
And I want to know who.
Yeah, as she's casually tossing a salad to this coworker, because I guess that's what the chefs do. They toss
No, actual salads, people. Actual salads.
right, actual salads. There's no gratuitous ass eating in this scene, unfortunately. But it turns out coworker had sex with Paul the wine guy too, and she's like, "Yeah, but you can thank me because I got his dick hard after 2 years." So Paul's clearly got a line that he's given out.
To which we cut back to the coffee shop, and Joey is just like, duh.
Yeah, no shit, that was a line. "Hi, I'm Joey. This is a thing men do." Guys, this is insane. This next bit's fucking insane. Because Monica laments the caliber of man she attracts, and Phoebe's response is to tell Monica to give her her foot. She takes out Monica's foot and holds her foot. This will never pay off. There is no follow up to this moment. She just holds, maybe massages, Monica's foot in fucking Central Park. It was crazy.
I think it was just a carry on from the, cleansing of auras.
Yeah, we're going to give you a little reflexology here in the coffee shop.
And then we finally get some retaliation for the relentless self-esteem destruction. Joey full-on mocks Monica with a big laugh, I can't believe he didn't think it was a line, and Monica just launches him into the air and he falls over.
And Rachel bursts in, and she hasn't gotten a job. She's qualified for nothing. And is she implying that she had 12 interviews in one day?
I guess.
Yeah, the way she talks about it is like, I got laughed out of 12 interviews, and I'm like...
She applied for everything, basically, without a
Right.
resume.
So, despite having been rejected from all these jobs, Rachel's got a little something to cheer her up. She got 50% off a really expensive pair of boots. She got herself a I don't need a job or my parents' boots. And Monica's like, hey, so how'd you pay for that? Oh, with my credit card. And who pays for that credit card? My dad.
Daddy?
Oh, Daddy, I want to go buy some new shoes.
Nothing I love more than a rich bimbo and daddy's credit card.
Stupid spoiled whore, video playset.
So, back in the apartment, they've laid out all of Rachel's credit cards on the table and tell her that it's time to, cut them up, strike out on her own. And Rachel is obviously nervous about this. And look, I have had my parents give me an emergency credit card. They didn't give me 6. She has literally 6 credit cards.
Yeah, but did they also have the luxury of planning your relationships for you? See, there's
No.
trade-offs in life. That's
There
all
are
I'm saying.
trade-offs. The amount that your parents want to control your life is directly proportional to the number of credit cards that they give you.
My experience is quite different.
Your parents gave you a lot of credit cards and have not wanted to control your life, or they've given you 0 credit
More of the
cards. and-
opposite, yeah.
yeah.
After a while, they gave up on trying to control. They're like, fuck, I guess he's just going to do his own thing. I don't know.
And John's like, and then I got my own stack of credit cards, so yeah.
And then I started a podcast.
And I charged it to my Platinum American Express.
I charged it to my LA Metro tap card. That's what I charged it to.
uh,
Non-Southern California residents might find it difficult to really appreciate that joke.
I mean, anyone who lives in a city with transit has some analog that they can reference.
You got Oyster cards in London.
Oyster cards? That's great. It's a great name.
Yeah, but there's plenty of other cities, especially outside the US, where public transportation is a very common thing that everyone enjoys.
Yeah, not even in LA does everyone use
just the
public
poorest
And
of
it's
transportation.
us.
relatively well run, you know, it's insane to even think
Yeah.
about that.
LA's got really decent public transportation. It just needs to expand the metro
No, it
rail
doesn't.
a bit
I've tried
more.
the buses. They are a nightmare. They never show up on time. They never take you to where they intend to take you. It's a complete mess.
When I lived out over in Van Nuys, they were very reliable. The only problem was they showed up once an hour. That was the schedule. Once you got more into LA proper, they would come much more regularly and tended to be on time. They were, horrible experiences, but they were on time.
There were scheduled buses that didn't show up, so I had to walk about 15, 17 miles once.
Wow.
I never had that experience.
Never had that experience.
And that was living out over there for about 3 years, heavily relying on public transit. The downside, again, if you're outside of the main city, they're just less and less and less frequent. And so you literally had to plan your whole day in advance.
Well, that's how I started too, is I took public transport. I'm a London baby, so I rely on public transport. It wasn't until my experiences that I realized how atrocious it all was.
I love how we're just not talking about Friends right now. We just
I never really wanted to be honest.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
We're still on the first episode, Jesus.
Can we get to the casual suicide references?
This was fucking insane. So like if he was like, "Hey guys, don't be so hard on Rachel," like it's tough being out here on your own for the first time. And then Phoebe gives us her insanely fucked up origin story.
How her mother killed herself, her stepdad left, she lived with a guy who was albino, who then killed himself too, and then she found aromatherapy.
Which then promptly abandoned Phoebe as well. Because, I mean, honestly, that's the one consistent thing throughout this entire story.
I absolutely believe that Phoebe was raised by aromatherapy. That just makes a lot of sense given her character. And she came to New York when she was 14. That is when her mom killed herself, stepdad in prison, met suicidal albino guy. Like fucking crazy, man. I'm like, I'm sorry, are we watching a sitcom or is this like, I don't know, some HBO show all of a sudden?
It's the source material for V for Vendetta. If you thought the movie was dark, read the source material.
Oh.
Minus the aromatherapy.
So Rachel gets peer pressured into ruining herself financially. She goes ahead and cuts up the credit cards.
Right.
And Monica's response to this, she gleefully says, "Welcome to the real world. It sucks. You're gonna love it." I agreed with you up until you're gonna love it. You absolutely were hitting the nail on the head.
I will say, though, that America would be in a lot better position if more people cut up their credit cards like this, so not entirely against this scene.
Fast forward to the evening. Guys, what show or movie ends on an orchestral rendition of the national anthem?
Only the best.
I thought it was like the ending of all TV programming at a certain time. It ended with the Star Spangled Banner.
So Monica offers to let Ross stay over again, but no, he needs to go back to his apartment sometime. Rachel finds Paul's watch, and Monica's like, "Hey, just put that back where you found it." So Rachel puts it back on the floor, and when Monica heads into her room, she steps on it.
Emotionally healthy, yeah.
Very healthy. Also, if you look carefully, she just steps on the band, not the actual watch itself.
Also, watches tend to be fairly durable.
Yeah, depending on which ones. I have a $20 Casio. You could probably shoot this thing and it
I'll
wouldn't.
say, yeah, and it's probably indestructible.
Well, knowing Nick, you have shot it many times.
No, that was doing shots in the presence of it.
I was doing shots with my watch, all right? He's a cool guy. There's like one Oreo left on the plate. And he's like, "Hey, Rachel, you want to split it?" And the way they split this Oreo is infuriating, right? Like if you were going to split an Oreo with someone, you would like snap it in half, right?
No, it never splits evenly that way anyway. You do the separation, and of course, one's going to get more filling than the other, or, maybe not at all and all of it. That's just the risk you take.
I disagree. We'll never share an Oreo, apparently.
Well, you're damn right we won't. I'll have already had them all. You feel like you're getting any? That's one of my favorite snacks, man. Shit.
Oreos are delicious.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. And vegan. That was one of the craziest things I found out. Like when I came back to the States, that Oreos are fucking vegan.
Yeah.
How? Yeah, so Ross reveals like, hey, I kind of had a crush on you in high school, and you probably thought I was just, Monica's dorky older brother. And she's like, yeah, I knew you had a crush on me, and yes, you were just Monica's dorky older brother to me. And he's like, hey, could I ask you out sometime? And she says yes. And the smooth thing to do would have been like, cool. You want to go out sometime? It's Ross, so he's not gonna be smooth. He just lets there be a giant awkward pause, and then I guess Rachel goes to her room. Monica comes out, and as Ross is leaving, he's like, "Hey, why are you so happy?" And he's like, "I finally grabbed a spoon," as in like referring
He's
to
going to
the
taste some ice cream. Yeah.
yes. And my note here is there is no spoon. If we learned anything from the Matrix,
There was no spooning either.
no, just forking. Ba-dum-tsh. And now we're at the epilogue, and the gang's back at Central Perk, and Phoebe is singing everything that people are saying. And plot twist, Rachel now works at the coffee shop. She got a job after all. She's bringing coffee to like give refills, and Chandler's like, "Okay, hang on. Did you make this coffee?" And she's like, "No, I'm just serving it."
Oh, I'll have some more. Yeah. Everyone just piles in. Yeah, let's have some coffee. Woo.
And then we end with Chandler revealing that he had another dream where he was Liza Minnelli in Vegas.
That's literally all we hear about it.
Yep, that is it. We don't know whether his mom called him again on the dick phone.
Oh, that's about his dad. We'll find out because his dad has a drag show in Vegas.
Interesting. I forgot that. Well, anyways, that's the end of the pilot. I gotta go shake some of the mediocrity off me. So we're gonna go take a break, and we come back. We're gonna break down the season finale, episode 24, the one where Rachel finds out. Don't go away.
Hello there. My name is Dr. Gunther von Leberkäse. And today, we are going to do an experiment to see how many beers it takes for the hosts of Millennial Rewind to confess their true feelings for each other. Now, let us see the results after one beer.
I'm glad you guys are my friends.
Yeah, me too.
And now, let us take a look at 5 beers.
You guys are like the best guys in the world. I don't know if people say that, but you guys really like up there.
Hey, I love you guys, and I don't know what I'd do without you, to be honest.
Oh, God. Wow, that was quite fast for most of them. Now, in the interest of science, let us see what happens after 10 beers.
I love you guys. I want to cut my heart out and like give it to you, but I die and I want to be with you forever.
Hey, guys, Jules, Jules.
No, don't touch me.
Let's have a threesome, just like the three of us. Threesome.
Oh, fuck. Fascinating results, yeah, very interesting. Well, that is all we have for today. I'm going to take off my pants and take John's place in the group. Tune in next time for more Millennial Rewind science experiments.
Who's this fat German guy?
Oh, don't you worry. We'll be getting to know each other very well soon.
Hey, it's a German guy. It's a German guy. Let's have a threesome. Just you and me with a threesome. And we're back. I'm gonna start off the episode. The gang is, of course, at Central Perk. Ross has had a baby over the course of the season. Apparently, somehow got his lesbian wife pregnant at some point, despite the pilot being like he hasn't had sex in a long time. I don't know. I don't remember that.
It was apparently enough that she was pregnant, like prior to them breaking up, because literally the next episode involves a sonogram. It doesn't really matter. This is way better. Over the course of 20 some episodes, this show got way better.
Way better. They all look better. Like they all got their hair did. Lisa Kudrow got that mole removed.
They still look human though, because once you get to the later seasons, they've got like personal trainers and body tans, and it looks atrocious. It's like you're watching.
Well, yeah, the show's still in its, early stages, but at the same time, it's not a pilot
Right.
for the series either. So
Yeah, then fast forward to the reunion they had last year where all the dudes look like, you put a marshmallow peep in the microwave. It was Courtney Cox, Jennifer Aniston, and Lisa Kudrow looked, good for their age, and the guys just fucking had let themselves go hard. But anyways, we're back in the 90s when they all looked fine, and Ross is showing everyone baby pictures, and Rachel's like, "Oh, so cute. You must just want to kiss him all over." And because she's really close to him, he's like, "Oh, girl."
how does she not feel him breathing all over her?
He's basically licking her. Like that it's just yeah.
Like, he is just staring at her neck.
I do enjoy Chandler's reaction though, because this is how I picture John and Nick react to children. It's just Chandler just like, "Pfft."
Yep, that's on a good day.
I would like to make a difference between me and Chandler here. I don't try to pass that off as being something that it isn't.
You don't know. It's true. Yeah, you're honest about it.
We've got baby photos. I'm out.
So Joey asked Chandler to spot him for like a cup of coffee, and Chandler's like, "Bro, you owe me like literally a gajillion dollars. What the fuck?" And Joey's like, "No, no, no, no. I got a job coming up. Gotta come into some cash soon." And they're like, "How? Well, what job?" And he reveals that he's a part of a fertility study where basically all he has to do is come in and like jerk off in the office for every 2 days, and after 2 weeks he gets $700.
But he can't have sex in the meantime.
Guys, that's like $1,400 in today's dollars. I will absolutely not have sex and jerk off and get paid for it for 2 weeks. What a great job. And then Phoebe says, "Yeah, you'll be making money hand over fist." And that I chuckled at that. I enjoyed that line. Y'all didn't, and I don't care.
I got jealous because it implies that Joey has to use two hands.
Cut to Monica and Phoebe getting ready for Rachel's birthday party, and apparently Phoebe, who we know to be vegetarian, is the one who has to get out the ground meat for the burgers. I don't know. I know vegans and vegetarians. They're not touching the raw meat. They're gonna make you omnivore go
Actually,
get the
not
fucking
true.
shit. Like
Not
she'll
true. Yeah.
really
When Mike Dog sat Trixie, he handled the ground beef for Trixie.
fair enough.
Hardcore vegan.
Yes, our friend Mike is a hardcore vegan. So okay, but that was for a dog. I
See,
feel
we're
like
also talking about feeding a dog here.
yeah, we're talking about feeding a dog. Like, if I'm sure it would be a different case if we're like, "Hey, Mike, can you go get the ground beef for our burgers for
He's come to
humans?"
4th of July
No,
parties.
he has, but he wasn't touching the meat.
No, he brought his own meat, but
That's because I wasn't there.
So Joey and Chandler show up, and this is the moment we were referencing when we were breaking down the previous episode. They've got charcoal, they've got tongs, and they're like, "We men, we make fire."
Then we pee out fire to put out, or we put out fire by peeing on and not get invited back. Like the whole caveman, me, man, fire, make me think, like it was going on a little too long, but then it had that little stinger at the end.
Yes,
Okay,
it
that
made
was
it
worth it.
worthwhile.
That was worth it.
Yeah, Joey's apparently seeing a girl who really likes him and wants to have sex with him, and Chandler's response to that is crazy bitch.
I mean, Chandler's all of us, let's face it.
Oh
I mean,
yeah.
that's also my usual response whenever I find out Nick's getting laid.
Oh boy. So yeah, so like as we were mentioning, if he wants to get paid, he can't do any personal experiments, if you know what he means. And Monica just says to him, "Joey, we always know what you mean, and come the fuck on." That's such a dick thing to say.
Welcome to Friends.
Welcome to Friends. It's like, yeah, he expects you to get it. He's just being coy because,
Yeah, anyone who adds, if you know what I mean, like no
Yeah,
shit.
it's
They're
true.
not expecting you to ask for clarification. All right.
Yeah.
I was dropping the elf down the well, if you know what I mean. I mean, then you need clarity.
Yes, I too am antagonistic towards the Fae. You never invite them into your homes, never accept gifts, and by God, don't even let them try to strike up a bargain.
I drop kick pineapples off skyscrapers, if you know what I mean.
High stakes pro wrestling, absolutely. You don't have to keep asking. We always know what
This
you
was always
mean.
my favorite
Clearly.
bit on Whose Line Is It Anyway, where they had to have entire conversations with turn of phrases that no one had heard before.
Your wife, she a goer? She a go? Say no
Say no
more.
more,
Say no more.
So Ross comes in later. The party preparations are pretty much done at this point. Comes in to tell Monica and Phoebe that he has to go to China for a week to convince some people over there to give them the museum he works for a dinosaur bone that they found because they won't give him the bone.
There are a couple of issues I have here. First of all, I'm pretty sure this was a point in the writer's room where they said, how many times can we put bone in an episode and get away with it?
Yeah, that was overdone.
The second is the fact that any paleontologist would say fossil. I'm sorry. They would say dinosaur fossil.
They
Now,
would.
all that aside, I absolutely love Phoebe in this moment. Because Ross walks in with luggage. She's like, how long did you expect this barbecue to last? And then when his reply is that he's going to China, she's like, well, geez, settle down. You say one thing. And be like, as if because of her comment, he's going to flee the country. That was great.
Phoebe, I didn't appreciate what you said, and because of it, I am going to Beijing. Fuck you.
Right.
One of the rare times we get anyone reacting to it, and it turns out to be an overreaction.
If you know what I mean.
And he gives them the craziest fucking request. He wants them to take a picture of him over to his son at Carol's house every day so he doesn't forget what his dad looks like.
And he's gone for like a week, right?
A week, literally a week.
Well, let's not forget you will be absolutely unable to reach me at all. Here's my itinerary.
Because they don't have phones in China in the 90s?
I imagine making that call would have been a fucking nightmare.
It would have been expensive and stuff, but the point is, I'm going to be in China. I'm going to be gone for a week. We're not going to be able to have any contact at all, but here's a list of where I'll be and what I'm doing. Fuck off, Ross. Quit making it all about you.
And Phoebe makes fun of, he puts the Ross photo in front of her face and does a funny mimic of it. It was good. I can't remember what it was
Again,
exactly,
Phoebe's great. Well,
Phoebe's great.
Yeah, no, she was just, I think Phoebe takes this as seriously the thing that should be done. But she's basically acting out, putting the picture in front of her face and interacting with his son, his newborn son. It's like, I'm your father, head of the family.
It's almost like the Toy Story, but like, I'm Woody. Howdy, howdy,
It
howdy.
is amazing.
It's like, it's that moment. It was great. Phoebe Shark.
Phoebe Shark. Hate that song. Blow out my brains now.
Showing the long list of people that have killed themselves in Phoebe's life.
Slash your wrist, bleed, 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 bleed. Slash your wrist. Bleed, 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 bleed.
Yeah, asks where Rachel is, and he's like, "Oh yeah, she's out with Carl. Who's Carl? A guy she met at the coffee shop."
Latest guy in their lives.
The entire season, other than like Ross having a kid, is just like each individual cast member dating and then not dating a bunch of people.
Rachel had an Italian boyfriend for a good little while,
Paolo.
who was amazingly familiar with the books that Chandler's mom writes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Into erotic fiction, yep.
He climbs out onto the balcony. If anyone's seen Friends, you got to climb through a window to get out onto this balcony because nobody thought to put in a door when they were building it. Tells him about going to China, and Joey's like the country, and he's like, no, like the fucking pile of the dishes in my mother's cabinet. Like, of course, the fucking country.
He's had a couple of beers.
Oh, we will get into that just now. So he asks about Carl, and they're like, dude, you gotta get over Rachel. Like, you need to move on. If you're gonna ask her out, you would have asked her out by now. And
Chandler has a
move
point.
The fuck on. They do have a point. Then Joey says to Ross, I may only have had a few beers in me, but I love you, man.
My note here is basically Joey pulls a Nick and Chandler pulls a John. This is a great demonstration of how our friendship dynamics work.
Hold on. I didn't see those beers. Did you put them in a glass or not? That's very important for how this conversation is going to move forward.
Yeah, are you feeling lesbian or gay today? How you drink your beer will tell. So, hey, my question for you guys is, how many beers do you need to drink before expressing verbal affection for your male friends and it's not gay anymore?
I don't know. I fall unconscious first.
I think it's around what Joey says. I think it's around 2.
Yes.
I'm unconscious before any affection gets out. Let's be honest.
That is true. That is true. John is as cuddly as a pufferfish. That is.
Well, emotionally, physically, I'm quite cuddly.
My self-esteem is terrible, so any excuse to get a hug.
And he's got a girlfriend, so he has regular access to hugs.
I need more. I need more.
Oh, I'm not coming over next weekend.
And Chandler's only had one beer, so he's only going to tell Ross that he thinks he's swell.
That's what I said. He pulls the John.
No, that is, again, far too affectionate.
So we actually meet Joey's girlfriend. Turns out her business is making fruit baskets, and she's got two partners in the business. They call themselves the Three Basketeers. Ha ha.
Which would have been fine. It's a bit of a bad pun, but it would have been fine if they didn't feel the need to explain it.
Right, but I think they make fun of Joey for explaining it.
Don't care.
No, the idea is that it's incredibly dull, and Chandler kind of points that out. He just sort of, oh, and just leaves it there.
Still, don't care. You know, it can be a kind of bad, bland pun. Just leave it.
So Rachel's here at this point for the party. Ross has left. And everyone's clearly hungry and wants food, but because she's a brat, she insists on opening her birthday presents first.
Yeah. That was my note.
Because Monica's like, hey, should I put the burgers on? And she's like, no, presents.
Mine.
12-year-old at Christmas.
Literally like a 12-year-old. So Monica pulls Joey aside to talk about the girl, and Joey's like, hey, I think she kind of wants to fuck tonight. Like, I don't know what to do about it. Monica's like, hey, have you thought about being there for her?
You know, the mistake she makes is she doesn't add, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, see, Monica, well, it's not really Monica. It's when talking to Joey, you need to put that onto the end of the sentence.
Yes.
But yeah, she's basically saying, give her oral sex. And Joey does no comprehendo.
Which just brings up a question in my mind, though. Not necessarily about Joey and his comprehension and everything like that. The people who are conducting this study, how would they know?
That's so true.
Something in your semen.
They like do a dick swab beforehand to make sure it hasn't
Maybe
been
the
anywhere.
study is something to do with quantity. I don't know.
Yes, because if I had sex and then had to go to a clinical trial later, I sure as hell wouldn't wash first.
Because Joey cares about science.
That's why you would wash, because you care about science and you want to have the best samples possible. You don't want contamination. And yes, out of context, that does mean girls icky.
Rachel is a bitch about some of her presents, right?
No, Scrabble sucks.
But it's travel
I
Scrabble.
say especially travel Scrabble. Especially, my God. But the thing is, because like in watching this, went from the pilot to the finale, and I don't know Friends that well. This is kind of why I wanted to watch episodes in between, because Chandler gives her travel Scrabble and Joey gives her a Dr. Seuss book. And I was like, is Rachel shit at reading comprehension and vocabulary? And this is their way of telling her?
The thing is, I do know this Dr. Seuss book, and I loved it as a kid, so I kind of warmed up to Joey after this. It's Oh, the Places You'll Go, which I always love.
Yeah, oh, the places you'll go. And I was like, oh, I get it, because Joey would see this as anyway.
He's like, look, this book got me through some tough times. And it's like,
That's right.
Melanie says, there's a little child inside this man, and Chandler pulls another John joke, which I absolutely love, which is, yes, they say if we remove it, he'll die. And just looks deadpan at Melanie, and even guests on the show get their self-esteem destroyed by these people. It's so
yep.
I mean, I was trying to avoid the we're all Chandler thing. That's why I jumped onto the Phoebe thing early on. But yeah, pretty much.
Melanie, of course, being Joey's girlfriend in this episode. Rachel opens Ross's present, and she's really touched by it because it's a pin that she saw in an antique store that they had walked past, and she had mentioned that it looked like something her grandmother had. And then Chandler's like, oh yeah, that's Ross. You know, when he was, in love with Carol, he went out and got her a crystal duck. Basically revealing that Ross absolutely loves her, and that...
And literally everyone else realized this except for Rachel.
I mean, look, you need to smack me in the face with a frying pan for me to understand that you're into me. Like, I get it. I get it.
Hold on. I need to update my notes. No assaulting Nick with cookware.
He will take this as a
That
come
will
on.
not be taken the way you intended it to go.
Chandler's trying to walk this back, and he's just like, Oh, I love this line. And again, this is just Joey being sarcastic because he's like rubbing his, fingers against the side of his head, being like, "Oh fuck, what do I do? What do I do?" And Joey just says, "Yeah, just keep rubbing your head. That'll turn back time."
Great line. Very nice. Very nice.
And then Rachel is stunned as we cut to commercial. Fade back in, and she's like, "This is unbelievable." And no, Rachel, he literally told you he had a crush on you in high school in the first fucking episode. This is very believable.
This was the main reason I wanted to put this season on in the background to see just how unbelievable it was. And from what I got through, I kind of get it. Ross didn't do the follow up on would it be okay if I asked you? I kind of just took it as he understood that it was wasn't that still her wedding day? Or
Literally
maybe
still
the
her
day
wedding day.
after? So I understand not pursuing it, but then like there was the friend zone conversation with Joey, and Ross has already waited too long. That was like the third or fourth episode, to be honest.
No.
And then, like, she had a boyfriend, and then, he's just there to comfort her when they break up. Of course, he has the ulterior motive of being the first guy that she sees, and that's supposed to make her attracted to him. Ross is an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, from what I saw, I totally get that she's just not seeing him that way.
Nope.
But yeah, so everyone
But-
makes out like this is such a big deal, that this is huge, and Chandler says, no, it's small, it's tiny, it's petite, it's wee. And my note is obligatory Jules penis joke. I mean, dating joke.
And yet you're the only one on the podcast with a girlfriend. That's fucking weird.
It's not that weird.
Actually, yeah, given you and me, John, it actually makes a whole fuck ton of sense.
I don't give a shit.
But yeah, they start
don't
making
care.
out like this is such a huge deal. Like, I don't think any of our lives will ever be the same. And it's just like, fuck off. This isn't World War or a pandemic, Phoebe. This is dating. And how long has Rachel known Ross? A year? How long have they all known Rachel? A year? Ridiculous line.
Well, no, Monica's known her since high school, and she knew Ross in high school because they were all like
Yes,
gone to
but
the
they
same high
weren't
school.
close friends and all the time between high school and now, Stupid.
So anyway, she's like, "Oh, I gotta go fucking tell Ross right now as he's flying to China and we'll be back in a week. I just gotta wait." Apparently, Ross's plane is gonna leave in 45 minutes. And no, there's no fucking way from Manhattan you're getting to any New York City airport in 45 minutes and getting to the fucking gate. Like, no, that's not happening. Even if you take a fucking taxi, no.
There's this weird miscommunication where it's like she's gonna rush to him as if he's already in China, because I think it's Monica who shouts like, "What about the time difference?" And then Chandler's like, "From here to the airport?"
No, Chandler says, "What about the time difference?" And Monica's like, "From
Oh, it's
here
the
to
other
the
way around.
airport,
Okay.
yeah." And he's like, "Yeah."
But yeah, Rachel doesn't even know what she's gonna say to him, and says,
It's cool. She won't think about it on the way either.
she'll realize when she sees him," and that's when Phoebe grabs the photo and say, "Well, does this help?"
Puts it in front of her face again. Yes,
Seriously, if it weren't for the bubbliness, I'm Phoebe.
fair enough.
Just imagine the way Chandler would have done that move.
And this is not the only time we have a fucking rush to the airport storyline in this show. Like, this show gets off on characters racing after each other to the airport.
80s and 90s, possibly even before that, just got off on this. The running through the airport was a very, very common staple of, romantic comedies and such until a certain particular event happened and you couldn't go more than like 30 yards into an airport.
It's so crazy that you didn't need a boarding pass to go through security.
You killed romance. Thanks, Bin Laden.
Yeah, thanks, Bin Laden.
But it's
Dick.
I never understood.
Ass.
It's the worst thing he did.
Security was almost non-existent. They kind of x-rayed your bag and that was it. And you could literally walk all the way up to the gate to see someone off or see them when they got back.
I always never understood this because, I mean, maybe this was ingrained in me, but we were always like at the airport when I was a kid at like 2-3 hours before a flight. So why was there any sort of a rush? That's like an eternity.
You could walk in and just go through and get there, but you didn't have, pre-boarding or online check-ins or anything like that. So you had to get there early to stand in line to check in your flight, and they knew you were there and all that sort of stuff to be able to get there. It wasn't security. That was relatively quick. It's very much the opposite now. Now you have to be there 4 hours in advance just because of the goddamn security line.
So my note here now is, wow, 90s airplanes. Holy fuck. They look so weird. United's a terrible airline and they still look shit back then. United, you're god awful. You're a garbage airline and you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Anyways,
Well, you missed an opportunity. This failed romance scene is brought to you by United Airlines.
this failed romance scene is brought to you by United Airlines. United Airlines, fuck you, passengers. It's so crazy to think that this was filmed in an era when you could still smoke on airplanes.
Surreal.
Up until 2000, you could still smoke on airplanes. It's crazy.
Weirdly, air was cleaner on the airplane.
Yep.
Really?
Because of the filters for smoking.
Because of one, the filters, and bringing in fresh air to help get rid of the smoke. Instead, they just recycle
Yeah.
the same air over
It's
and over
the
and over
reason for
again.
deep vein thrombosis.
Wow.
That's actually caused by poor air quality, not the actual pressure.
Huh. The things you learn. But I think, like with COVID-19, they've put the filters
They might have
back
done now,
for
yeah.
the time.
But only because they have to.
Improve our air travel health. Smoke!
That's right.
Maybe if we could just have a smoking section on the plane, just have one of those blanket curtains that you draw.
How does the smoke know where to go?
Because there's signs.
I distinctly remember as a kid, my mother would periodically get up on the airplane and walk forward to the smoking section. Like she would always book us the seats in the non-smoking section because she didn't
Like
want
it
us to be
helped.
exposed to the cigarette smoke. Like it helped. But then she would like smoke in the fucking house. So go fucking figure.
I remember when they were very gradually working on getting rid of smoking sections in restaurants, like it was blocked off. There was like a glass blocked off smoking section.
Yep.
So it's almost like a zoo attraction. It's like, here's your table, and there's the smokers. You get to sit next to the smokers and watch them.
Try not to make faces.
Shh, you'll agitate the smoker. Oh, they're pulling out another one. You did it now.
In 2011, I think you could still smoke in bars in Virginia. Like I went into a bar in Virginia and people were still smoking in there.
I was back in Indiana a couple years ago. You can still smoke in bars.
Crazy. So yeah, Ross is listening, as he's boarding the plane, he's listening to Mandarin language learning tapes on his Walkman, and I think that's the most 90s thing I have ever said in my life. And so Rachel tries to get on board, but I have this lady down as hot 90s Maria Bamford, and she says, no, you need a boarding pass. And again, it just astonishes me that pre 9/11 you could just get to the fucking gate without a boarding pass. Tells her that she wants to give him a message to Ross. He's in a blue jacket. What's the message? I don't know. I've had 40 minutes to fucking think about this.
But okay, tell him this. And so she walks in and walks past Ross and sees a different guy with a blue jacket. Wrong message. Womp.
Yeah, this is a guy in his like 50s or 60s with a wife. And so she comes up to him and says, hey, I got a message from Rachel. She says, thank you very much for the present and she'll see you when you get back. And the wife just gives him a death stare.
And that airline representative just ruined this man's relationship.
Yeah.
And his vacation.
I think that's something we have to start doing is just start sending messages that Rachel loves the present and she'll see you when you get back.
Every single one that I send will say, I would like to see you in my dressing room.
This guy's ties are crazy. He's wearing an orca and dolphin tie. There are orcas and dolphins on his tie. It's crazy. So back at Joey's apartment, he's made his girlfriend come so hard she almost blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say it that explicitly, but that is what they are implying. And she's like, all right, now we got to do something for you. And he's like, oh, nope. We'll just keep focusing on you again. And she's like, you are going to get so many fruit baskets after all this.
Now, you'll notice she did not say, if you know what I mean, because this will not be a euphemism for something else.
No,
literally, there will be fruit baskets.
She talks about how giving Joey is. He's practically a woman, and Joey can't help but smile.
Hey, fellas, is it transgender to sexually gratify a woman?
No, just gay. Am I right? Am I right?
Nothing gayer than having sex with a woman.
That was the plot point in The Sopranos with Uncle Junior.
Yes, it was.
Because if you're gonna, do oral on a woman, well, you do anything, and the woman who gets told that is like, how does that even make sense? They're totally different things.
It makes about as much sense as Joey's sexual generosity making him practically a woman. Like, holy fuck.
Because he's not selfish.
So women are all naturally generous? I've met women. That's not
Mhm.
true.
That's
Mhm.
That
very
is
true
not
as
true.
well.
I mean, sometimes you have to remind them. That's why the Bible tells them to submit.
Also, yeah, according to the Bible, you can't teach a man, ladies. You need to shut the fuck up and just sit down. Read your Bible.
And that is New Testament, by the way. You can't pull the Old Testament, doesn't matter. That is
Yeah,
New Testament.
that is New Testament.
Do not permit a woman to teach or something like hold any position of authority over a man. She must be silent.
Anyways, again, because we just don't want to talk about this show. So in the apartment, Phoebe and Monica are pressing Rachel about what she's going to do about Ross. And she's like, after being indecisive for a bit, she's like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. And Monica gets very excited because they're going to be friends-in-law.
To which I say, go for it. You mean what? Like grab his itinerary and then get on a plane as well and track him down?
I think it's more like, hey, when he gets back, I'm going to go for it.
Ross needs a bone. Go give him that bone.
Or go take his
and now
bone.
Chekhov's itinerary's not coming back.
Chekhov's itinerary. No, this itinerary will not go off at any point.
Neither will the bone, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. Only because you said, do you know what I mean?
Right, because otherwise I would have been a fossil.
At this point, all the friends get super judgy and start making her second guess herself. And like Monica full on calls Rachel out for dumping her brother, even though they haven't even started dating yet. These are self esteem killers. This is why Rachel hesitates.
Right, because they're like, hey, it's going to be like, you already know each other really well. It's like you're going to be starting at the 15th date. And Phoebe's like, yeah. So basically, you're already going to be like super relationshipy and committed. And no, that's not how fucking dating works. Yeah, you know each other better, but it's still going to be the first date. Like, they haven't boned yet. Like, by the 15th date, some fucking has happened.
Well, rub it in, why don't you?
I'm going to rub it out.
That's what I have to do. Because 15 dates isn't
Rub it
enough.
in with a Chinese bone, if you know what I mean.
Rub it in, rub it in.
Monica gets really weird pressing Rachel about her brother not being good for you. Like, are you breaking up with? It was weird. It was a weird sequence.
But stepping out of, being overly critical of shit, it was a fun back and forth.
Yeah, it was fun. They played it well. They had good energy. So now Joey comes out of his room while Chandler's eating cereal to brag about how awesome he is at giving his girlfriend orgasms. And my note here is this moment of Joey bragging about getting his girlfriend off is brought to you by Captain Crunch Crunch Berries. Captain Crunch, the roof of your mouth can go fuck itself.
The roof of your mouth can get fucked as hard as Joey's girlfriend. So anyway, Chandler's like, yeah, I know. It's almost like my room's right next to yours.
That's all we need to talk about in that scene. So Rachel continues to show that she doesn't appreciate her friends' gifts by wearing a skirt that she got when she exchanged the blouse that Monica got her.
Yeah, dick move to pull on your roommate. But on the other hand, it's a hell of a lot better garment than that blouse, I must say. It was a great trade up. But to flaunt it around and be like, oh, it's a gift from who? From you, because I took that shitty thing you gave me back. That's just rude. You've lived there for a while. Make up a name. Say it's someone else at the cafe.
Say
Who
it's
knows?
fucking Chandler's travel scrabble. I mean, for fuck's sake.
There is no way that you are getting a skirt like that for travel scrabble. Maybe if you threw in some Dr. Seuss and a fruit basket. Okay? But that's pushing it still.
With the amount of fruit baskets that Joey's getting, I think she could make the value work out. So Monica happens to just drop casually that the exact gate where Ross will be arriving today. Rachel confides in Monica that she doesn't think she's gonna date Ross after all because, like, look, it'd be like she was dating the whole group, and that's a lot of pressure. And Monica proceeds to validate her fears by putting a lot of pressure on her. So Monica, despite acting crazy and weird, convinces Rachel that she's not going to act crazy and weird if she dates her brother. By the way, Monica and Ross are just really bro-y towards each other in terms of like each other getting laid. Like they are really supportive of each other in their endeavors there.
Yeah, then we find out that Rachel is on a date with this guy Carl again. And Monica's all, behind my brother's back is exactly the kind of crazy thing you won't hear from me, you know?
Exactly. She catches herself there. So cut to all the fruit baskets,
I have
all
to
of them.
say, this is a great
Yes.
channel line. As Joey arrives with his paycheck, he says, "Oh, you did it. Do we have any fruit?"
Yeah. Yeah, Joey got his money, he shows off his check, and despite everything he learned, like, being very generous in the bedroom, he's just gonna go back to boating, regular old boating, because he's like, look, when a blind man gets his sight back, does he walk around like this and he, like, closes his eyes? It's kind of Donald Trumpian almost in retrospect.
Yeah.
My note here is no blind dude has ever walked like that. I have never met a blind person, and I guarantee you they do not fucking walk like this.
I have known a few blind people. A friend of mine got married to a blind lady, and no, they don't walk around like that.
But then we get Carl. He goes on a fucking Tesla rant. It's hilarious.
He got triggered by seeing a picture of Ed Begley Jr. driving one of his electric cars. He's like, if
Yep.
I gotta see another picture of Ed Begley Jr. driving one of his electric cars, I'm gonna blow my brains out. And please do, dude. You're an
I know,
asshole.
it's
Like,
so
you're
great.
fucking insufferable. The world would be a better place if you shot yourself in the head. I did not know that Ed Begley Jr. was like a huge early proponent of electric cars. I had to do some research on this. Like, since the 70s, he's like, that's been his primary mode of transportation.
So something I like bringing up often, it's usually on the topic of Hollywood is out of ideas and nothing. All they're doing is remakes and sequels. Nowadays, this falls for people of how all the people nowadays with their electric cars. I'm like, this show's almost 30
I
fucking
know.
years old, man. It's not a new concept.
No, literally, there have been electric cars as long as there have been cars. Like, we almost had our entire car infrastructure built around electricity.
They didn't really have the technology to make it incredibly feasible then.
But it was a choice.
Yeah,
It was a
it
choice.
was a choice. And then, anyway,
We are where we are. So she zones him out and basically hallucinates Ross, convincing her to date him.
yeah. So even in her imagination, Ross is an asshole.
Well, also, she claims that Ross is like her best friend. And I just feel like really bad for Monica at this point.
Yep, good point. Great point.
Ooh, you're making me live whenever this world. Anyway,
Great Queen reference. So convinced by kissing an imaginary Ross to give him a chance as a boyfriend, lies to Carl about needing to pick someone up at the airport, and nobody in New York City has ever needed to pick somebody up from the airport. Never, ever, ever. Like, you need to get picked up from LAX, I promise you, but not LaGuardia, not fucking JFK. They have taxis.
And so she just leaves him on the balcony.
Yes, at like the tail end of her birthday party. She scheduled a. Well, no. The birthday party happened.
No,
week
it's not the
before.
birthday party, but she leaves him on the balcony. It's like, yeah, you know the way out.
Yeah, you finish your drink and then get the fuck out of here on
Just
your own
leave a
steam.
random New Yorker in your apartment.
I would not leave this guy
He's
anywhere.
not random. He's Carl, the asshole.
I don't know why, but that just sounded like one of those infomercials. For only $69.99, you get Carl, the asshole.
So she goes to the airport, and the couple that got given the Rachel message is still fucking fighting.
Yes, that's what I mean by that United Airlines employee ruined this man's marriage. They have been gone for a week because whenever I travel to a place, I always return with the exact same people on the plane. But yeah, that couple is still fighting about who in the hell Rachel is.
JFK, like New York to Beijing, it's between 13 to 18-hour flight, depending on how you do it. That's a long ass fucking flight.
I think low end has to be even longer because I had a flight from New York to, or from Japan to Newark. That's where I had that 9-hour layover, was after a flight like that. And I mean, that was 14, and that was Tokyo.
That's a long ass fucking
It's
flight.
a long ass, that was a long week and 2 long fights. That was a long week and 2 long flights of who's Rachel.
See, now I'm just imagining John on the airplane just fighting random passengers to pass the time. One of them happened to be particularly long.
And I'm doing my Batman voice to ask who Rachel and where she is.
It's a John vacation right there. This is where we find out that Ross is coming off of the airplane with a new girlfriend. We will find out as Julie. And this is the point at which Ross full on acknowledges that all his friends will judge and ridicule his new girlfriend, Julie.
But because Ross is the worst, he's like, oh, yeah, they're totally going to judge you and look down on you. And I can't wait to subject you to that.
And Rachel's there with a bouquet of flowers, and she sees him coming off the plane with a girlfriend. So womp womp.
That's literally how it ends. Yeah.
That's literally how it ends.
Yep.
All right, and that was Friends Season 1. But before we go, as millennials, we know that every movie and TV show has a moral. So, Jules, what did you learn today?
Well, that your friends are never there for you, only people you haven't seen since high school.
And John?
I learned it's astonishingly easy for scientists to know the last time I had sex.
And I learned that because I don't need to consume copious amounts of alcohol to tell my male friends that I care about them, I'm gay. It's Pride Month when we're recording this. Just gotta let you all
tell your
know.
mom, or shall I?
We'll talk. And before we go, we of course need to tell you what we're doing next time. So, John, what do the folks at home have to look forward to?
They can look forward to getting the hell out of the U.S. finally. We are going across the pond and paying a visit to the beloved children's series, Postman Pat.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be so ridiculous.
It's going to be ridiculous. American listeners, it's a wild ride. You're not going to
Three
want to miss
grown
this.
men watching Postman Pat. This is... I never would have guessed.
We already have conspiracy theories about the show. We already have them that we've been discussing for a
It's
long
true.
time. And John, do you have a review to get our listeners excited for Postman Pat and his black and white cat?
I do. I have one that weirdly comes across as a bit of, hey there, fellow high schoolers. Postman Pat was one of my favorite TV shows since I was a little human. I even feel chills in my spine and a great feel of nostalgia hearing the song again after many, many years of not watching. Watching this show will make you want to go, or at least is one word, or at least think, what if our world is like in the town where Postman Pat lives? Clean, peaceful, friendly neighborhood, no life problems, and etc.
I can't wait to be thrown back to when I was a little human. I really...
Do you get great feel of nostalgia even if you have not watched?
At least.
And etc.
And etc.
And that's our show. If you liked it, please subscribe. If you loved it, please share it with all your friends. And whether you liked it or loved it, we'd appreciate if you give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you can to help others find us. Also, be sure to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Links to all of that are in the show notes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time for another episode of Millennial Rewind.
If you know what I mean.
I am absolutely leaving that in.